Kai wiped the sweat from his brow and gave a lopsided grin that probably looked better in his head than on his face. "All right, Celia," he said, voice dripping with mock confidence. "Show me what you got." Celia's long ears twitched once, then twice. The rest of the room might have gasped, but Kai wasn't in the mood for the usual galactic theatrics. He had volunteered for this training session because, frankly, he wanted a story worth telling on some backwater colony someday. Something that would make him sound less like a confused tourist and more like a legend. The training dome hummed quietly around them, its walls lined with sensors and monitors blinking in steady rhythm. The zero-gravity simulators floated silently in their chambers nearby, but today it was about raw, old-school combat. Flesh, bone, and willpower. Celia cracked her knuckles, the subtle glow of her armored gloves casting eerie reflections. Her black hair fell in thick waves, framing a face almost human, but for those unmistakable long ears, sharply pointed and constantly flicking like antennae searching for weakness. Kai flexed his fingers and said, "You know, for a queen, you don't seem to have a throne. Just this, room." She lifted an eyebrow, the faintest smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Thrones are overrated. Everyone wants one until they realize you're just sitting there, waiting for someone to topple you." Kai's grin widened. "Sounds like the perfect job for me. Toppling queens." He cracked his neck with a theatrical pop, careful not to actually injure himself before the fight even began. Celia stepped forward, the hum of her armor syncing with her heartbeat, or at least it felt that way to Kai. "You're going to regret those words. Regret is just the prelude to a great story," Kai shot back. "Besides, if I'm going down, I want it to be memorable. Maybe with some witty one-liners." A flicker of amusement flashed in Celia's eyes, and then the training bell rang, sharp and sudden. They lunged simultaneously, Celia moving with the lethal grace of a panther, Kai with the reckless enthusiasm of a man who'd watched one too many old Earth action hollows. His fist connected with a soft thud against her forearm, more to test than to hurt. Celia barely reacted, already spinning him around with a motion that was all power and no mercy. Kai's feet left the ground, air rushing past his face as he flew toward the steel bulkhead. "Wow, that's gotta leave a mark," he joked, voice echoing strangely in the moment before impact. The wall absorbed most of the blow, but Kai still crumpled like a discarded datapad. The room held its breath. Someone muttered, "That's it. Over in 60 seconds." Kai blinked, slowly. Then he rolled over, pushed himself up on one elbow, and flashed a grin that was pure idiot charm. "Is that all you've got?" Celia stopped, frozen in place. The hum of the dome seemed to quiet. The monitors dimmed, and the assembled spectators, mostly military brass and a handful of curious diplomats, exchanged stunned looks. "You're insufferable," she said, voice low but tinged with something unfamiliar. "Hey, you asked for a memorable story. I deliver," Kai said, standing up and dusting himself off. "Besides, if I'm going to die, I want it to be with style, or at least a good punchline." Celia's lips twitched, almost smiling. She stepped forward again, this time slower, more deliberate. "You're lucky your species invented stubbornness." Kai winked. That, and a penchant for bad jokes. Their next clash was different. No longer just a fight, it was a dance. Awkward at times, fluid at others. Celia threw blows that would have pulverized any other opponent, but Kai ducked, dodged, and parried with a surprising mix of luck and instinct. And through it all, the banter never stopped. "Ever consider taking up knitting?" Kai asked as he sidestepped a lightning-fast jab. "For someone who might get thrown across the room again, you're remarkably talkative," she replied, eyes narrowed. "I like to keep the conversation alive. Keeps the blood flowing. Or maybe I'm just trying to annoy you," Kai admitted, grinning. Celia's ears twitched again. "You're lucky I have a soft spot for idiots." Kai took that as a compliment. By the time the dome's lights flickered, signaling the end of the session, neither was quite sure who had won. Celia's chest rose and fell rapidly, and Kai was breathing hard but smiling. "You fight like a drunken space frog," she teased, wiping a stray lock of hair from her face. Kai laughed. "Better than sulking like a glitter lizard." She stared at him for a long moment, the queen of galactic warriors reduced to trading insults with a human who could barely stay on his feet. The tension that had filled the room melted away, replaced by something lighter. Something like respect. Or maybe the start of something neither of them quite understood yet. Kai grinned and said, "Same time tomorrow?" Celia nodded once, her eyes sparkling like stars in a nebula. "You're infuriating. And you're unexpectedly entertaining." The dome doors hissed closed behind them as they left the arena, their steps echoing in the silence. Somewhere, a hidden observer chuckled. The galaxy might just have a new kind of story brewing, one with punches, laughter, and a pair of unlikely combatants who refused to back down. And Kai was already thinking about his next witty comeback. Kai stretched his arms, the slight crackle of his augmented joints humming softly beneath his skin. "So, Celia," he said, flashing that grin that had gotten him in trouble more times than he cared to count. "You ever consider that maybe you're a little too serious for someone with long ears like that?" Celia paused mid-step, her dark eyes narrowing playfully as her ears twitched. "And you think I'm serious?" she asked, voice low but laced with mischief. "Absolutely. You wear that crown like it's glued on. I wear this grin like it's permanent." He pointed to his face, as if the grin was an accessory everyone admired. "Maybe we should swap for a day. I'll try ruling a galaxy. You try being me." Celia's laugh was unexpected, a sharp, clear sound that echoed down the narrow corridor of the starship. "You're insane. Or charmingly optimistic," Kai replied. "Same difference." The corridor lights flickered overhead as they made their way to the training lounge, where the buzz of energy fields and magnetic sparring dummies filled the air. It wasn't the most glamorous spot on the station, but it was where Celia came to sharpen her skills, and evidently where Kai had decided to insert himself into her rigorous routine. "You know," Kai said, twirling a small plasma shard between his fingers, "back on Earth, we'd call this a sparring session, but out here it feels more like a dance of destruction." Celia raised an eyebrow. "You're not half bad at this, for a human." Kai shrugged. "Survival skills mostly. Plus, I'm stubborn as a rock." Celia smirked. "That explains a lot." The sparring dummies ignited, emitting an eerie blue glow. Magnetic fields pulsed, making the training area feel weightless, a pocket of artificial gravity floating in zero-G. Kai bounced lightly on his feet, readying himself. "Ready to see if your spirit is as tough as your mouth?" Celia asked. "Bring it on, Queen of Pain," Kai said, adopting a mock bow that was more flop than flourish. Celia lunged, her movements a blur, but Kai dodged barely. The dummy's sensors flashed with each contact, recording hits and misses. Kai managed to land a glancing blow to Celia's shoulder. She grimaced, not from pain, but surprise. "That's the luck of humans," he said with a wink. "Messy, unpredictable, and usually unexpected." Celia's long ears twitched as she considered him. "You might be reckless, but you have fire. I can't say that about most who challenge me." Kai grinned. "Fire's good. Keeps things warm, especially when you're being thrown across rooms." Celia's eyes sparkled. "You're lucky my aim is off. Is that a promise or a threat?" Celia's laugh echoed through the chamber. "A little of both." Suddenly, the ship's AI crackled over the comm. "Alert! Incoming simulation update. Prepare for Phase 2. Kai groaned. "They never let us rest, do they?" "Rest is for the weak," Celia replied, flexing her fingers inside her gauntlets. The training floor shifted as holographic opponents materialized, shimmering figures wielding energy blades and graviton rifles. The room's gravity modulated, making every step feel like walking on the moon. Kai eyed the nearest hologram, a towering figure clad in armor that seemed to absorb light. "Well, at least these guys don't talk back." Celia rolled her eyes. "Wait till they start." The simulated foes advanced in sync, their movements fluid and relentless. Kai dodged an energy slash, narrowly avoiding a blast of graviton force. "You ever think about how weird it is," he shouted over the din, "that we're fighting ghosts? If I fall, I don't even get a cool death scene." "Maybe your death scene is just you tripping over your own feet," Celia teased. Kai stumbled but recovered, returning a quick jab to one hologram's chest. The dummy shimmered and flickered, disintegrating with a soft pop. Celia moved like a shadow, her strikes precise and deadly. "You're getting better," she acknowledged. "Or maybe I'm getting lazy." Kai smiled. "Never. You just enjoy the banter too much." Suddenly, one of the holograms split into smaller figures, fast, agile drones buzzing like angry hornets. Kai grinned. "Now we're talking." He darted and weaved, swinging a plasma baton with reckless energy. Celia joined the fray, her movements a graceful storm. Together, they dismantled the swarm with a combination of firepower and cunning. After the last drone dissipated, the room's gravity normalized. The holograms blinked out, leaving the training area quiet again except for their breathing. Kai wiped sweat from his forehead. "Not bad for a couple of galactic misfits." Celia lowered her arms. "You know, you're infuriating, but in a way I find it refreshing." "Don't let it go to your head," Kai warned, then grinned. "Or do. I kind of like that." Suddenly, a comm alert interrupted. "Queen Celia, your presence is requested in the council chambers." Celia's smile faded. "Duty calls." Kai nodded. "Looks like the fun ends here." "Not necessarily," Celia said, eyes glinting. "This galaxy's full of surprises. And maybe, just maybe, so are we." Kai chuckled. "I'll hold you to that." As they parted ways, the hum of the station seemed to pulse with possibility. Because sometimes, even in the vast silence of space, the spark between two unlikely souls could light up an entire star system. Kai glanced at the tray Celia had surprisingly carried all the way back from the human mess hall, holding two vividly colored smoothies that looked suspiciously like liquid rainbows. "You're really doing this," he said, eyebrows raised. "The queen of the galaxy drinking something that smells like a fruit salad exploded?" Celia's long ears flicked in amusement. "Even rulers need their nectar," she said with mock regal dignity. "Besides, it's an excellent way to confuse my guards. They didn't know whether to alert security or ask for a sip." Kai laughed, taking a cautious sip from the smoothie, which tasted like a sugary comet tail with a hint of alien mystery. "Not bad. Almost makes me forget I'm about to get thrashed again." "Confidence is key," Celia replied. "Or foolishness. The line blurs easily in your case." He smirked. "I prefer to think of it as strategic optimism." They found a quiet corner in the training lounge, the usual hum of magnetic dummies replaced by the gentle buzz of maintenance bots. "So," Kai began, balancing his smoothie, "what's next on the Queen's to-do list after humiliating me with your alien martial arts?" Celia shot him a look. "Humiliating you requires very little effort. Next up, a demonstration of tactical patience, or as I call it, waiting for you to stop talking." Kai grinned. Challenge accepted. Suddenly, the overhead lights dimmed, and holographic star maps flickered to life around them, displaying swirling nebulae and distant planets. Celia tapped a few controls, and the hologram zoomed in on a map of the star system. "Diplomatic matters," she said. "The High Assembly expects my presence soon. They're uneasy about recent skirmishes near the Trillion Sun sector." Kai squinted at the glowing dots representing fleets and outposts. "Looks like someone forgot to update the galaxy on peace talks." Celia nodded. "War is the galaxy's favorite hobby. It's hard to keep everyone on the same page when most prefer the drama." Kai shook his head. "Sounds exhausting." "It is," she admitted, "which is why I find it amusing that you volunteered to spar with me. You could have been anywhere else, maybe relaxing in some zero-G spa or—" "Fighting for my life?" Kai offered with a grin. "Precisely." Kai chuckled. "You know, for a galactic queen, you're surprisingly relatable." Celia's smile softened. "And you, for a human, are surprisingly persistent." Their banter was interrupted by a soft chime from the ship's AI. "Incoming communication from Admiral Creel." Celia's expression shifted. "Always something." She activated the comm channel. The holographic figure of Admiral Creel appeared, stern and impeccably uniformed, his cybernetic eye blinking as he spoke. "Queen Celia, we have reports of unauthorized incursions near the Trillion Suns. The rogue faction threatens the fragile peace." Celia nodded. "I am aware. We will address it. I intend to lead a delegation personally." Admiral Creel's eye glinted. "A bold move. I hope you understand the risks." "I do," Celia said calmly. But I also understand the value of direct action. The comm cut off. Kai leaned in. Sounds like you're going into the lion's den. Celia shrugged. I prefer to think of it as a crowded council room with more backstabbing. Kai laughed. Same difference. The next day, as the ship's artificial gravity stabilized at a pleasant 0.6 g, Celia and Kai found themselves in the gravity chamber, practicing hand-to-hand combat under shifting gravity fields. Kai attempted a playful jab, only to find himself floating unexpectedly as the gravity dropped to near zero. Okay, not what I expected, he admitted, flailing as he spun slowly. Celia caught him mid-tumble, her arms strong and steady. You're surprisingly light for someone with your attitude. Kai laughed, steadying himself. I try to keep it that way. They exchanged moves and counter-moves, laughter echoing in the chamber, as Kai accidentally flipped himself upside down more times than he cared to count. Not bad for a human, Celia admitted, panting lightly. You're learning. Kai smirked. Takes one to know one. Suddenly, the chamber's gravity stabilized, and Kai landed, albeit awkwardly, with a thud. Celia grinned. Ready for a smoothie break? Kai nodded enthusiastically. You read my mind. As they exited, Kai whispered, You think this is what the galaxy meant when it said unusual alliances? Celia smiled. Perhaps. Or maybe it's just the beginning of something none of us expected. Kai took a final sip of his smoothie. Then let's make sure it's a story worth telling. Celia folded her arms as the chamber's holographic walls shimmered, morphing into the darkened arena of the Trial of Blades. You sure about this, human? She asked, voice low but tinged with a rare softness. Kai scratched his head, trying not to look like a lost tourist in an alien festival. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds exactly like the kind of thing I should be running away from. Celia's long ears twitched with amusement. Running isn't an option. Besides, I brought you here because you're stubborn enough to survive the first round. Kai grinned. Stubborn and mildly insane. Great combo. The chamber shifted again, and suddenly they were surrounded by spectral illusions. Towering blade wielders shimmering with ethereal light, each one a reflection of fear itself. Kai narrowed his eyes. Okay, this is officially the weirdest sparring session ever. Celia's smile was tight. Focus, Kai. These illusions feed off your deepest doubts. They'll try to trap you in your own mind. He sighed dramatically. Fantastic. I've been trapped in my own mind since puberty. The first blade wielder lunged, swinging with impossible speed. Kai ducked, his movements fueled by adrenaline and a healthy dose of panic. You're slower than a nebula drift, Celia teased, blocking another strike with grace. I'm conserving energy, Kai shot back, attempting a clumsy counterattack that barely grazed the illusion. The figure flickered, responding with an eerie whisper. Fear. Weakness. Surrender. Kai frowned. You think you know me? Celia pressed forward, striking with deadly precision, dismantling an illusion that took the shape of her own self-doubt, a mirror of vulnerability beneath her regal exterior. Kai blinked. Wait, is that you in your bad mood? Celia smirked despite herself. Even queens have off days. Another illusion morphed into a battlefield from Kai's past, filled with echoes of old wars and lost friends. His breath caught as memories surged, threatening to drown him. Celia reached out, steadying his arm. You're not alone. Remember that. Kai nodded, feeling the weight of history and the lightness of companionship collide. Suddenly, the room shifted again. A cacophony of malfunctioning karaoke bots burst onto the scene, blaring off-key renditions of ancient human love songs. Kai groaned. Seriously? This is your idea of a test? Celia laughed, her guard lowering just enough for Kai to toss a mock bow. Consider it an unexpected challenge. The bots spun and whirred, their robotic voices chanting out-of-tune melodies. Kai ducked a flying microphone and quipped, If I survive this, I want a medal. Or at least some earplugs. Celia grinned. Or you could just sing along. Yeah, because nothing says hero like a tone-deaf human belting intergalactic ballads. Together, they fought through the absurd chorus, laughter breaking the tension that had built within the chamber. As the last bot fizzled out, Celia's eyes locked with Kai's. You didn't have to come. Kai shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. Someone had to keep you grounded. Plus, I like snacks, and this place has surprisingly good catering. Celia's smile softened. Thank you. The illusions dissolved, and the chamber returned to its neutral state. Kai cracked his knuckles. So, what now? Celebrate surviving the galaxy's weirdest trial? Celia considered. We fight on, but with new understanding. Kai nodded. Sounds like a plan. Next time, maybe fewer singing robots? She laughed. No promises. The observation deck hummed softly as Kai leaned against the transparent wall, eyes tracing constellations he'd only read about in ancient star charts. Celia joined him quietly, her long ears silhouetted against the swirling galaxies outside. You know, Kai began, when I first volunteered to spar with you, I thought I'd be a footnote in some alien history book. Maybe that human who got tossed around a bit. Celia smirked. And yet here you are, more legend than footnote. Kai chuckled. Guess stubbornness and bad jokes pay off. Celia looked at him, her gaze steady. You've changed, not just in the ring or on the training floor. You see beyond the chaos, beyond the politics. Same goes for you, Kai said. You're more than just a queen with a reputation for breaking bones. You've got a fire and a heart. She raised an eyebrow. Careful, human. Flattery might get you thrown across the room again. Not if I keep smiling, Kai replied, stepping closer. The galaxy outside stretched endlessly, a tapestry of stars and stories. Between them, a new story had been written, one of defiance, laughter, and unexpected connection. The Assembly still expects me to choose, Celia said, between power and everything else. Kai took her hand, his grip firm. You don't have to choose alone anymore. She nodded, eyes shining with unspoken promise. Together then, whatever comes next. The ship's AI chimed softly, announcing the Council's readiness to receive their decision. But in that moment, neither Kai nor Celia rushed. They stood, two souls from different worlds, united not by obligation, but by choice. Kai grinned. So, ready to show them what real rebellion looks like? Celia's eyes lit up. With you, always. And as the stars bore witness, they stepped forward. Not as queen and subject, but as equals. Two sparks destined to ignite change across the galaxy. Because sometimes the greatest revolution begins with a smile and a question. Is that all you've got?